I've had the time of my life.
Those are the words of Sir Howard Bernstein in March 2017, captured during an interview in the final week of his tenure as Chief Executive of Manchester City Council. I'm Paul Unger, publisher and founder of Place Northwest. I sat down with Sir Howard in his room at the town hall, surrounded by packing boxes and Man City memorabilia, and asked him to reflect on his career. As Chief Executive, he masterminded the devolution deal for Greater Manchester, which in turn set the agenda for city region policy making around the country and heralded in a generation of metro mayors. He drove forward the development of Spinningfields, First Street, East Manchester, Oxford Road corridor. One development area after another had his fingerprints on. Quite simply, he helped turn Manchester into the fast-growing European city it is today. With his death, we decided to dig out the recording from that interview and share some extracts. This recording has not been broadcast before. Sir Howard was an extraordinary character, and it seems only fitting that we let his own words define him. In his unmistakable gravelly voice and mischievous laugh, Sir Howard explains his ambitious approach, reflects on his achievements, and debates his legacy. I found it especially poignant to listen to him again in this moment, and I hope you find it informative as we process Sir Howard's loss in the city that he loved.
I could have stayed on here if I wanted to for another few years at least. I didn't think that was in my interest or indeed the city's. I never wanted the debate, and it would have become a debate next year. How long is Howard staying? He's 65. I don't want that type of debate to characterise my tenure in Manchester as Chief Executive, and I want to start to address whether or not there are different things that I can do while I've got some gas in the engine. We'll find out how successful that is, and it might turn out to be a biblical disaster, in which case at least I've tried. I will continue to work for the city wherever I can, doing the things that I like doing.
And in terms of the role, how has the role changed over the last 20 years, or is it pretty much the same sort of?
Well, no, I think that role has changed. It's become increasingly city region focused, and as the devolution programme has gathered momentum, so in a sense I've done two jobs really for the past several years. One focused around Manchester as a city, and the other one focused around Greater Manchester. For us, devolution, I think, has been and will be the game changer, because that gives individual authorities within Manchester the opportunity to do things we've not had in the past, and I think that's very important for good local government. I think it's also very important for the people who live and work in Greater Manchester.
Okay. And when you're reflecting with a glass of red on Friday with friends and colleagues from here, will there be a time or times when you think you were happiest at the council?
I've had the time of my life, and to have been able, I've worked in the same place for your entire professional career by and large, give or take a couple of years, to have been privileged to have been Chief Executive for 19 years. It will be is of itself a remarkable privilege, to work with so many brilliant people, not just inside this building, but outside of it, with two of the best local authority leaders in Graham and Richard that this country has ever seen, has been not but only very fortunate from my point of view, but it's also been an absolute privilege as well. And the great thing, I think, for Manchester is that there is more to come. This city has been reaching for the stars for the last 20 years, and will continue to reach for the stars over the next 20 years. Of that, there is no doubt whatsoever.
And on the flip side of that, what's been your biggest regret or failure, as you want to?
You can't do this job over the timescale without not having little bumps along the way. I think the loss of the casino hurt me. I think developing the BBC North proposition, and then going to Salford hurt me as well, but I think it's turned out well for everyone. Pointless pretending I wasn't hurt at the time, of course I was. I think internally, the improvement journey we've been on children's services has given me as much pleasure over the last few years as devolution. By and large, it's been, I've loved every minute of it, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. So,
and in terms of the landscape going forward, obviously we've got the mayoral election on the 4th of May, a major political sort of milestone and piece of history for Greater Manchester, part of the devolution deal. What's your views on the merits of the two leading candidates, as Andy Burnham, Sean
well,
Astin?
as I'm currently the returning officer and will be until Saturday morning, so I can't possibly comment. The one thing, there are three things really. One is why a mayor I think is necessary. You can't assume more responsibilities for functions without increasing the political capacity of the political leadership in Greater Manchester. So whether you call it a mayor, a sheriff, or whatever, the need for additional political capacity in Greater Manchester is a fundamental part of underscoring the accountability for additional central government functions and responsibilities. And I've always been a completely supportive person. The second point is, this is not a mayoral model which is equivalent to London. The London model is two-tier, this is an integrated tier. So this is effectively a partnership between what works at GM level and what needs to work at locality level. And the mayor plus the 10 local authority leaders of Greater Manchester will, as they always have done in this area, develop very close working partnership, which will actually ensure that devolution and how GM is governed is very effective. Yeah. And thirdly, I think it's important to have a directly accountable person who can hold government account for all the commitments and promises that have been made to support, whether it's the Northern Belt, whether or not it's rebalancing of the national economy. Those are vitally important parts, I think, of how we need to rethink the constitutional relationship between the centre and local government, particularly in Manchester.
In terms of offers, you must have had lots of interesting and maybe some colourful and silly money sort of offers. Have you, going forward? Is there anything you can tell us about?
To be honest, and what I want to continue to do is do what I do best, I think, which is working within the business community, working wherever I can for the city, and working to support a rebalancing of the national economy. Mm-hmm. And none of those values will be particularly far from me.
Obviously, you've had amazing achievements here within the local authority. When you think about what else you want to achieve?
Well, it's not me, it's what I want to see. I think, the growth path of this city is clearly established. The one thing no one could say is that there's still no shortage of ambition, there's still no shortage of compelling investment propositions which are emerging day by day. The city is set for a growth path, which is stronger in my view than what it's been for the last 10 years. The issue really is how strong that growth path actually becomes. Is it steady or is it more and more exceptional growth? Well, that's a function of the market, but it's also, I think, the function of the collaborative culture which I believe exists here within the city, both between the council and the business community and within the business community itself. I want to see that development programme ramp up. I think devolution gives us the unique opportunity to grapple with challenges which hitherto have been beyond us, for the reasons that we've never really had the influence and the power, never mind the resources, to be able to get people who have been disconnected from the city's economy to become part of the city's future success. And devolution, health, sexual care, what we can do around skills, and I think there'll be more, actually gives us unparalleled opportunities. And I think it's that unique combination of a highly productive workforce, as well as being a friendly, healthy, cultural city with a growth path, which will be the envy of any other regional city or peer city in Europe, which will continue to underpin the city's long-term growth and success.
Are there certain values that you try and instill in negotiations?
Place, proportionality, focus, and partnership. And those are all, in my view, values and characteristics which now transcend not just me or the council, but everyone who's connected with the city, certainly in driving our growth. And I think that's an important part of the Manchester story. So for me, it's not the end of the world that Howard is going on to move on other things. The reality is, the legacy is that collaborative culture based on those values.
For more reflections and tributes to Sir Howard Bernstein, head over to placenorthwest.co.uk. I'm Paul Unger. Thank you for joining me.